In this video, I'm going to be answering the question, how to roll over a 401k from an employer to your own account. So this could be you rolling over a 401k or a Roth 401k or a Roth 403b or a 403b or a TSB, whatever employer sponsored retirement plan that you have. In the past, I have rolled over a Roth 403b and I just rolled over a Roth 401k into my Roth IRA. So I'll be taking you guys along on that journey so that you can know what to expect. But before I do get a lot of kind of specific questions like this. I'm actually using a platform called Quorio where you can chat with me for different amounts of time if you want to ask me specific questions. Quorio is a platform that helps people get advice from those who they want to learn from. I linked my profile down in the description bar if you want to chat with me and ask me anything that you want to learn about. You can just click the book me button and choose a talk option and register to send me a request. So rolling over a employer retirement plan to your own account. The first thing I did in this process is call the financial institution in which my employer sponsored retirement plan is being housed. For the job that I left previously where I had a Roth 403b, that was Mass Mutual. And then for the Roth 401k that I just rolled over, I needed to call Voya. That was where my Roth 401k was being held. And when you're doing this, when you call them, you may need to jump through a couple hoops. They should know how to do it if you're explaining to them what you want to do, but you will likely need to explain your situation to them and they should be able to direct you to the right person. I want to roll it over into an account outside of Voya. I have a Fidelity account where I keep all my investments, so I wanted to roll over into that. No, I don't, but I can open one. But rolling it over into a Roth account, there's no tax implications. Fidelity, you can put it in my name. I have an account number if you would want it. Adrian Schmidt, Fidelity. The account is, I think the address on file is, no, regular mail's fine. It's a rollover IRA. Nope, that's it. Thanks, you too. Eventually, I got to the right person and I told them that I wanted to roll over my 401k into my own Roth IRA that I already had with Fidelity. They'll likely first ask you if you want to open one with them. So Voya did ask me if I wanted to open up a Roth IRA with them, and that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep all of my money housed in one place because it's just much easier to manage in one place. But if you don't have one and you want to open one with, you can do that as well. I already had one with Fidelity, so I just told them that I wanted to roll it over into my Fidelity Roth IRA. So if you're rolling over a traditional 401k or 403b or whatever, you're going to be rolling it over into a rollover IRA. And if you are rolling over a Roth 401k or 403b or whatever, you're going to be rolling it over into a Roth IRA. And that is just because of the different tax implications that they have. The best way to manage your taxes is to go from a like account to a like account. So a Roth account is an after-tax account. So rolling that over, you should be rolling it over into an after-tax account. Something that actually was different that happened to me, that didn't happen to me before, all of the money that I got from my employer match. So my employer matched funds that I contributed. All of the match that I got from my employer was pre-taxed money, whereas the rest of my Roth 401k was after-tax money, meaning that the money I put into my 401k, I had already paid taxes on so that I wouldn't have to pay taxes on it when I take that money out when I'm in retirement. However, the company match that I got, I had not paid taxes on. So I will have to pay taxes on that money when I take it out when I retire. And because of that, the money that I had actually had to go to two separate accounts. I can roll over the money that I had contributed into my Roth 401k into a Roth IRA, but for the money that I got from my employer match, I had to open up a rollover IRA and put that money into that account. Whoever you're talking to with your financial institution should know this and can help you with this, but that was just something different that I encountered. Once I explained everything to them on the phone, they gave me a time as to when the funds were technically pulled out of the market and what the check that was going to be sent to me, how much the check was going to be made out for. Make sure that when you're doing this, that the check is being made out to your account. For me, it was my name plus the account number that was either my Roth IRA and then my name and then my account number for my rollover IRA. If it's made out personally to you, then there could be confusion that you are withdrawing all of the funds as a cash out and you'll have to face penalties on the money that you cashed out. which is not what you want to do. They first asked if I wanted to expedite the check and I said no. So the check was mailed to me. They said it would take 5 to 7 business days. And a few days later, the check came in the mail. And as soon as I had a chance, I took those checks to my nearest Fidelity location to talk to them so I could deposit the check into my account. Hello friends, I am sitting outside about to go into Fidelity to go deposit my rollover check that I got from Voya, which is the place where my company had its 401k plans. I've gotten 2 checks since the plan that I had was a Roth 401k, and any funds that my company matched, those were pre-tax. So I got 2 checks. One is an after-tax check, which is the money that I contributed, and then I also got funds from what I got from my employer's match, which is a pre-tax fund check. So there's 2 checks, and they're each going to go into 2 different accounts. One is going to go into my Roth IRA, and one is going to go into my IRA rollover, which I just opened so that I could deposit this. I will take you guys along on the conversation I have with the guy so you guys know what to expect if you are ever encountering this. Well, it does in the, on here, these envelopes or the little envelopes. I have 2 different checks. This is nifty. I wasn't expecting this whole setup. Okay. Okay, thank you. That was like the weirdest experience. I was not expecting that. The other time I rolled over a 401k, I just went into the counter at Fidelity. They deposited into my account there. And because of COVID and everything, they didn't have anybody there, but they had like this iPad, and then like, I guess there's a sensor there that lets them know when somebody's walked in. Somebody's screen popped up and then they were talking to me and they were like in their kitchen. That was really funny. It was just really interesting and I wasn't expecting that. But basically what I did, because of COVID and everything, he asked me if the account numbers that I have for my Fidelity accounts, the different ones, my Roth IRA and then my rollover IRA, if the account numbers for both of those were on the check stubs. And I was like, yeah, they were. So I didn't have to fill any forms out. I just put them in an envelope, and then they had me put the envelope in like a mailbox, and then somebody we're probably right after right now, honestly, somebody comes and then they deposit that into my account. And he said by 5 p.m. today I would see the funds in my account. That's basically all I did. I also, just in case, I took pictures of the checks, and then I also wrote up a receipt because since nobody was there, no one could give me like a receipt for giving them the check. So they had a piece of paper that you can write down that you dropped the check off so you have record of it. That's all I did for now, and I guess I'll let you guys know when the funds are in my account. It was about 2 p.m. when I went to Fidelity and dropped off these checks, and by early that evening the funds were deposited into the correct accounts. So my Roth IRA and then my rollover IRA. If you don't live near a Fidelity or whatever financial institution you use, you can still do this through mail. You can just download the correct forms from your financial institution and mail the checks in. I kind of like just don't trust the mail system with checks like that because it was a lot of money. But if you don't live near one, you can mail it in and they will deposit it into the account for you. Personally, I like to make sure it gets to the right place and to make sure it was deposited. Actually, when I did this before, I was able to talk to somebody in person. I explained to them, I gave them the check, and they immediately deposited it into my account. Whereas this time, because of COVID, there wasn't anyone there. So I was talking to someone on a screen that was in their kitchen, and then I dropped my check off in an envelope in a little mailbox that they had there. And also, going to a location, if you are able to, is likely going to get the funds into your account much quicker than if you were to do it by mail. So I took to Instagram to get any additional questions that you guys may have had. The first question was, what options do you have when rolling over employer retirement accounts? When you're rolling over an employer retirement account, you have 3 options. You can transfer the account to, if you have a new employer, you can roll over those funds to the new employer retirement plan that you have. So if I opened a Roth 401k with a new employer, I could roll over the money from my last employer to my new employer, or you can roll over the money into your your own account, so either a Roth or a traditional account, or you can cash it out, which is what I was saying before, which you don't want to do because you will have to face penalties. Personally, what I think the best thing to do is to roll it over to your personal, either traditional or Roth IRA, because you have more options as to what you can invest in. One of the things I want to address is why you should be rolling over your retirement account from each employer that you have. So it would be really easy for you if you are lazy, like most people don't want to have to deal with calling financial institutions, but it is a very important and a very good idea for you to transfer that money over. And the reason for that is you have more control over the funds in your own account than you do in an employer-sponsored retirement plan. And that's because employers typically have limited options in terms of index funds that you can invest in or individual stocks, whereas in your own account, you can really invest in whatever you want to. Personally, I learned this from when my aunt passed away last year. She had multiple jobs and she had multiple accounts and she never rolled them over, and my mom was the executor of her estate. And so when she passed away, my mom then had to go track down all of the different accounts that she had, and it was just really hard to see her do that in the midst of just mourning the loss of her sister, but also having to figure out all of these administrative issues. It's very simple to roll them over. Another question I got was, do the stocks get moved over or is it in the form of cash? The funds, when they get moved over, are in the form of cash, not stocks. So when you roll money over into your new account, the funds are just cash. So right now I have cash sitting in my Roth IRA that I haven't invested all of it yet. On that note, you need to make sure that when you put money into your Roth IRA or your normal IRA, that money is then invested. If it's just sitting in that account in a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, it's not technically invested. It's just sitting in an account, just like money sitting in a bank account would be sitting. And this is one of the advantages of rolling funds over, is that you then get to choose exactly what your investments are. The last thing I want to talk about is any penalties or taxes that you could come across when you're doing this transaction. Any Roth account that is transferred over to a Roth account will never incur paying additional taxes or penalties. And the same thing goes for if you roll over a like account to a like account. So like a traditional 401k to a traditional IRA, taxes and penalties will never be incurred. Taxes are incurred when you transfer a traditional account to a Roth account. You'll have to pay income taxes for that year for whatever money you are transferring over. And this is actually particularly beneficial for high income earners who are ineligible to contribute to a Roth IRA. I think the income limit is $139,000 for 2020, so last year. Penalties are also incurred if you cash out a 401k, either a Roth or a traditional, before you are 59 and a half years old. The IRS will penalize you 10% for all of the money that you withdraw. So you want to make sure that you are not withdrawing that money unless you are very aware and are willing to pay that 10% penalty. Make sure you go follow me on Instagram. That is where I like to connect with you guys. You guys send me some really, really sweet messages and questions that you have, and that is also where I often get questions and inspiration for making videos like this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye guys.